Welcome to the empowering world of the Ladies Who Lead podcast, where brave souls share their remarkable journeys of venturing beyond their comfort zones to craft lives filled with passion and purpose. Today I'm welcoming Mona Dawes. She's a former Washington State Senator and producer of a film called Baddass Women Doing Kick-Ass Shit. She's a speaker, an entrepreneur, and a changemaker. And she's raising $1 billion in this big dream, and she's going to tell you all about it, because you can maybe be one of those recipients of $1 million that she's got on her list to help elevate all women. So take a listen and enjoy. Hi, welcome to Ladies Who Lead podcast. Today my guest is Mona Dawes. Mona is a speaker, filmmaker, entrepreneur, and changemaker. She is a former Washington State Senator and producer of a film called, now listen to this, Baddass Women Doing Kick-Ass Shit, which is a film highlighting how 8 women of color are shifting how they are seen in our country and what they are doing to change the power paradigm for all women. Mona is on a mission to elevate all women who have hopes and dreams to make a true impact in our world. Through dismantling barriers, driving systemic change, and amplifying underrepresented voices, Mona is empowering women in leadership to inspire others to use their voice and their choice to challenge the status quo and create lasting impact in their communities and beyond. Mona, I am so blessed to have you here today and to have been introduced to you by a mutual friend. I mean, you really are a true visionary and an amazing speaker and an amazing person. So
thank you. So good to see you, Lisa.
It's so good to see you. And you've been in this room, and in my house. So it's kind of funny. Now you're seeing it from a little different angle.
Yep.
So you're in politics. I love talking about politics, but your vision came from wanting to give women that are underrepresented more of a voice in politics.
That's right.
Let me go back a little bit. Was there something in your childhood or someone in your childhood that actually had an inspiration or something that led you to become, number one, a politician, but also wanting to represent the voices of women that are underrepresented?
I really don't know, excuse me, I really don't know where that came from, to be honest. I know my parents' journey. My family came here from India with $6 when I was 8 months old. So I think that was the start of my journey, where my parents really were, bold, courageous, coming to a new country, to foraging this new land. And I think that's definitely where the sort of like the boldness from my personality and my boldness from my visions and dreams come from, is because, they'd never been on a plane. They'd never left their country, let alone coming here with, nothing and, small baby. And, I think people who have the courage to do something like that, that definitely inspires you for your whole life.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's who you are. You are very bold and you're not afraid to talk to what it is and speak about what it is that you feel is something that people need to hear, right?
Yeah.
So, what was your career before politics?
So before I was in politics, I was classically trained in sales. I was in software. I ran a mortgage. I had a mortgage business for 17 years. But really, sort of the basis of my career has always been around business development and sales, which was really great parlay into politics and fundraising, which we'll talk about as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, and what, I guess what would it be is, where did the idea of becoming a senator come from?
Wow, this is one of my favorite stories to tell, Lisa. And I know when we were in person, you're like, tell me that. And I'm like, oh, let's save it for the podcast. So here it is. So I do my best thinking in the shower. I don't know about you, but a lot of people I know also do their best thinking in the shower. And for me, I was visiting my baby brother, and I was in the shower, and I got out of the shower and I said to his girlfriend, now wife, I said, I'm going to be a senator. And we just laughed because it was absolutely preposterous. I mean, grew up very classically Indian, half my family are doctors, the other half are engineers. So for me to say that I wanted to be a politician was actually laughable. We laughed about it and we just thought it was funny. And like, it was one of those ideas that it just came out. I don't know where it came from, just came to me in the shower. But it's one of those ideas that I will say that I put on a shelf, and we all have those. I call them big, hairy, audacious goals. And you put it on a shelf because it doesn't make any sense. It's laughable. It's not even in the stretch or realm of your imagination, but it was, it came out. It was there. And so that idea is something that I would like bring off, dust off, look at, still didn't make any sense. I'd put it back on the shelf. So for years, it sat on the shelf really high up there until one day I was walking my dog, Cleveland, who, believe it or not, has more energy than me. And, he would pull. So if we like stopped, he would pull and bark, and he didn't like to stop on the walk. So I'm walking the dog and I literally saw a sign, Lisa, yet this time it was a yard sign. And it said, Pramila Jayapal for Senate. And I knew three things by looking at that sign. I knew, well, four actually. I knew one, she was Indian. I knew second, she was a woman. I knew third, that it said Senate. And I knew fourth, and most importantly, I knew if she could do it, I could do it. And I stood in front of that sign for about, I think it was 5 minutes. It could have been 30 seconds. It felt like 5 minutes, but I am just crying. I'm bawling because I knew there was my dream, my crazy, crazy BHAG. Like somebody was out there doing it. And my dog is like barking and pulling, and I'm just crying because I knew in that moment that it was possible. And I think that's why I believe representation truly matters. And that is why I come on all the podcasts and get invited to speak all over the world. And I share this story because I want some little girl, little boy, young person, older person, anyone who has a crazy dream to realize that they can do it too.
It's something about seeing yourself represented on either a screen or in
Yeah,
politics that has inspired so many, especially women.
that's right.
But it has inspired so many. There's a lot of really stories like that. But I love that she inspired you, and she's such a powerhouse, and she's still a
She is.
powerhouse.
She
Yeah,
is so amazing. Yeah.
because you served what years in Washington?
In the Senate, I served from 2018 to 2023.
Oh, right through 2020.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely served there through COVID. And you know what? Thank you for reminding me. That's the end of the story, which is even better than the beginning. Is that, when I got to the Senate, we got to choose an office. And my chief of staff and I went around and looked at all the offices that were available. And there were 6 people that were new that year. And because my last name started with a D, I was able to choose first because alphabetically I was first in line. So we went and looked at all the offices, and then we like found this last office was the smallest office, but it had a view of the dome. And the dome in the Washington State Capitol is very much like DC. Dome in the middle, Senate on the right, House on the left. And it's really grand. And so we could see that dome from the window, and it was like perfectly centered. And we chose that office because we knew that those days were going to be really, really hard. We knew that the days that we were out there fighting for our communities, my community had 148 languages spoken in my district. So they were all little Monas out there, right? There were little girls from foreign lands. And, I knew that I was going to be the representative, the senator for them as well, whose parents probably couldn't vote even. And so, but they still needed representation, right? And so we chose that office, and, we loved our choice. We were very happy with it. And about 2 weeks later, somebody came in the office and said, "Oh my gosh, did you know this was Pramila Jayapal's old office?"
Oh my gosh. Get out.
So when she was in the state Senate, that was her office. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, there's no coincidences really in life.
No, exactly. That's why I was like, I'm in the right place at the right time, and I am meant to be here. That's when I got that hit.
So let's take a little step back because
Okay.
how you got there is a skill that you have, a skill
Yeah.
set that you are
Hmm.
going to be using, and we'll talk all about that,
Yeah.
is of raising money and
Yeah.
getting yourself out there. You are not shy. I will
Nope.
let everybody know.
Nope. Not at all.
Yeah. So how did you hone in on that skill and understand that you had that?
Yeah. Once I realized that, the biggest thing about running for office, sad but true, current reality, is the more money you raise, the more likelihood of you to win your seat. And what people don't know typically is what the money is used for. It's used for staff, it's used for a website, it's used for literature. When we knocked on doors, as I mentioned, I flipped a seat. Maybe I haven't mentioned that yet. I flipped a
No.
seat.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually flipped a seat, but I had to knock on 8,000 doors personally to do that. And so that is my sales skills, my business development skills, and I was able to take my real true sales, fundraising, business development skills into fundraising. So I was able to, and that is just what we call call time. You just get up, pick up the phone, and call. Typically people who donate to democratic politics in the state, and you just call them. You have to cold call them. And because I was so good in my sales roles, I was able to just literally parlay that right into raising money,
Wow.
which
I
is what
mean,
I still do.
and I did ask you, where did you get the courage to do something like that?
Yeah.
And you kind of scoffed it a little bit because it wasn't about courage. You
Mm-mm.
said, no, what was it that you told me? I'm trying to remember. I said,
I'm
did you
trying
have
to
the
remember what
gumption?
I told you too. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
for me,
said, I
it
said, how'd
was,
you get the gumption? That's an old lady's word, but whatever,
yeah.
gumption to run for a Senate because that takes a lot of courage. I mean, you don't just
Oh,
do
I know.
that.
I remember what I told you. I very much knew that we needed more loud, brown, and proud women in areas of leadership. And so for me, that was how I could do that. I very one of the things that's funny on my journey, I don't tell this story very often, but once I got that idea and had put it on the shelf, after I finished grad school, I started telling people about it. This is one of my big things, is like, tell people your big crazy goals, because then they're more likely to happen. And other people, the universe will conspire to help you get it done, right? And so for me, I started telling a few people that I wanted to do this, and then found out there are campaign schools that specifically train women to run for office. Yeah. And so I spoke to a woman who told me about women's campaign school at Yale. And I will be honest, like, if it had been the women's campaign school at University of Wisconsin, I probably wouldn't have been interested. But it had the word Yale in there, and I was like, oh, ding, 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 that's cool. And so I applied, and I know it's a very competitive program. And so I thought, okay, if I get in, then that is a sign. Like, I'm going to keep going. And then once I got there, it's a very intense 5-day program. It's basically, 18 hours a day. And once I got in, I was like, okay, I'm going to go through this program. And if there's anything in here that feels uncomfortable or feels undoable, like it feels like impossible, like, that's good to know. I'll be glad I took the program, and it'll be good to know that this is not for me. But every day, every course, every instructor that went by, I was like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And then by the end of it, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I can do this. And so that's what those courses are. I mean, they're amazing. These courses are out there to actually teach women to run for office. It's so incredibly inspiring. And it feels like you're being held, right? Like, it doesn't feel like you're doing it on your own.
I love that. Not only that, I love the fact that you were aware enough to say, okay, and I'm thinking that what you were thinking is if something either doesn't feel right or it's against your values. Because as a
Absolutely.
politician, you
Yeah,
really have to keep to
absolutely.
me, I think you have to keep to your values, your integrity. And so if there was something there that maybe you were like, this is a little bit not with my values, but everything lined up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a great point. And that for me, um, and I can say one of the things, and I will say this about my 4 years of service for Washington State. One of the things, one of the most, I think, is probably the biggest compliment I've ever received, is a constituent of mine said, Mona, she's like, the person that you said you were and who you showed us who you were when you ran for office and you said you were going to get certain things accomplished. She's like, you did all that plus a lot and you never changed. You're still the same person that we elected. And that to me, Lisa, especially in today's day and age with politics, like to me, that is the biggest takeaway and compliment that I could receive from my service.
Yeah, and I hear, I'm not going to, no naming of names, but I hear people say things like, "Oh, all politicians are bad." I'm like, no, no, there are a lot of
Yep.
politicians that are people like yourself and other people that, that in politics that have a goal that really want to help the country, the state, wherever they're serving, their city, and really, really help. And they're honest and they're good people.
Yeah.
There are, bad people, but really the good people, I feel, outnumber the bad. It's
Yes.
just that the bad people get all of the press. And right now, there's a lot of bad people that are in control, so they're getting a lot of bad press.
Yeah, there's a lot of press. And it does then lead people to say things like all politicians are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. So, what was the most important piece of legislation you feel that you
Yeah.
enacted while serving as a senator?
Well, I'm very proud to say that I passed 28 laws in 4 years,
Wow.
which is pretty much unheard of. Most people pass, like, there are some people, colleagues of mine, that would pass 0 or 1 bills a year. They stayed in it for the title and they were in it for, 20, 30 years. Like, I knew that I wanted to make a big impact quickly, and I didn't know how long I was going to stay. I didn't know, like, it was this something I was going to do for forever. And I didn't want to do it forever. I mean, I always knew that I wanted to get in and get out. And I'll tell you what, these jobs were never meant to be for a lifetime like they are now. They were meant for people to come in, do the job for a while, bring their expertise, and then leave. And somewhere along the way, people stay for 30 years. I mean, I remember I had a colleague who was 81 years old. Yeah.
But that's not, you're right. There was a lot. I mean, even in California, here, across the country, they're staying way longer than they should be staying.
I
I like
mean,
your whole
yeah,
idea here.
yeah,
You went in, did your thing, and how many things you passed.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot. And then get out. Let somebody else new with some
That's
new
right.
ideas
That's right.
again.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so for me, my most proud things is I had three like sort of lanes that I focused on. And I think that's really important for legislators not to like do everything because you
Mhm.
can't boil the ocean, but you can focus on, your lanes of expertise. And mine were I focused on affordable housing, I focused on diversity and equity. And because my MBA is in sustainable business, I focused on the environment. And that's where I had some really big wins. I was able to ban plastic bags.
You were the first, right? Because
It
I know that
well,
we
it wasn't the
adopted.
first in the country,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was a very, very comprehensive bill. It was first in the nation in many parts of the bill. But the bigger one that I passed a bill that banned styrofoam and all single-use plastics. And that is the one I'm like really proud of. It's like plastic bags are one thing, but styrofoam is something I really hate.
Yeah.
And so we first in the nation, we banned the coolers, we banned the packing peanuts, and the little clamshells that go with to go, like
Yep.
to go where. And
Yep.
then the third thing, yeah, so we banned styrofoam, plastic bags, and all single-use plastic. So those are the really big bills, the ones I'm known for. I was known as the single-use plastics warrior for Washington State, which I love that title too.
And then you were saying that your legislation and the wording of it was used by other states after
Absolutely. Oh,
that.
yes. Thank you. My bill, because it was so comprehensive and we spent a lot of time on the actual language because we knew we wanted it replicated, that parts of that bill, those bills are now in 20 to 25 different states. I've lost track now how many. So that to me, like that's the sort of legacy that I'm so proud of. And when I travel, and I travel full time, so it's like I'll go to other states. I'll be like, oh, yep, there's my bill, and I'll be so happy that it's in so many different states now.
So let's see. I'm going to go to the badass women doing kick ass shit.
Okay.
The question I have, and please let us know where people can see it, but the
Sure.
question I have, out of the 8 women and everything that they talked about, what was a couple points that you really stood out that you want women to remember, women that are underrepresented? What were their points that were made that somebody could listen to and maybe adopt and maybe run for office even?
Yes. Well, so this
Mhm.
is a movie. This movie is specifically about 8 women of color running for office across the nation. However, what came out of it was so fascinating because I show this movie around the country, and this year I'll be showing it internationally. And what really came through for me, and women who watch it who aren't politicians, which is most of the audience usually, that there's something in their stories that remind them of their own stories. Because really, what this movie is about, it's not really about women of color running for office. What it's really about is women fighting the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And so every woman can identify with that. And every woman knows exactly what that means and exactly what that feels like. And so when you hear that in the stories across the 8 women, and I shared a lot in my story, but what is so incredible is there's some things I didn't share, but other women shared them, and I also echoed them, right? So it's like, oh yeah, that's happened to me. Oh yeah, that's how I feel too. And so what I love about the movie is the takeaway from other women that have watched it is that they see themselves in these stories too. And I think that's really powerful. I think we won like 12 international awards, including Cannes Art Festival, Best Director. Yeah. So we won like crazy amount of awards for this movie. Well, I never expected. I mean, my um, director was like, "Oh, we're just going to start entering them into film festivals." I was like, "Okay." I didn't know what that means. I'm not a movie maker, obviously. Well, I am now, but I wasn't then. And yeah, we just kept winning award after award. And I'll never forget when she called me to tell me that we won the Cannes Art Festival Best Director. I was in Mexico visiting a friend and working, and I screamed so loud on the Zoom that they just laughed so hard because I couldn't believe it. I mean, like, accolades from something that is that powerful is, something I never could have dreamed of. Wasn't on my bingo card, that's for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those things that you had shelved, but it happened because it came from your own dreams, and
That's
that
right.
it came from really that original dream of being a senator, and then
That's
this
right.
was something that came out of it from there. Yeah, it's all in the
Absolutely.
plan. It was all in the
Absolutely.
plan, and
Yeah.
I love the fact that like you just said, stories that women
Yeah.
are talking about are how other women get inspired and learn
That's
things.
right.
That was the
That's
whole
right.
premise of my Ladies Who Leap podcast,
I
is about sharing
know.
stories and getting everybody inspired to do something to change at women's power in this world, like you
That's right.
said. Yeah,
Which is why I
to
was so
fight the
excited
fight.
about the title of your podcast and what it's about, because it's very much in line with what I'm doing. And you asked where they could see the movie. So
Mhm.
the easiest way is just to go to my main website, which is monadas.org, monadas.org, which I'm sure will be in your show notes.
Mhm.
And if you go to right on the homepage is a movie link, and then you can click the movie. And we got a distribution deal, and so now you can watch it on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube. Like it's all the places to watch at your leisure. So yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love it. So you talked about your parents kind of inspiring you to think big. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people don't always do that.
Yeah.
Thinking big is just not in their realm of thinking. And you're all about it. So where did that actually come from? Other than your parents, who inspired you to do that?
You
We'll
know,
be right back. You show up for everyone. You hold it all together, but when it comes to advocating for you, confidence suddenly disappears and you stop prioritizing your well being. Sound familiar? I'm Lisa, emotional transformation coach with Ladies Who Leap Coaching. And I can take 20 minutes instead of 20 years to remove the negative inner chatter and bring you to a place of deep self love and emotional freedom. My Power Leap Breakthrough program changes everything: better jobs, loving relationships, and a deep reconnection to yourself. If something in you knows it's time to change how you live your life, then let's talk. Go to ladieswholeap.com, click on the Let's Connect button, and leap into the woman you truly are. Now, back to the show.
I think for me, growing up in America in the 70s, there were not a lot of women of color ever in any sort of media. There was never any women of color to look up to. And I think that's why seeing that sign from Pramila was so inspiring to me, because it was the first time I'd seen real, true leadership from women of color. I mean, my dream big. I mean, my father, he has 38 patents. He came to this country with nothing. And he has 5 college degrees. I mean, I think dreaming big, and like, he came to this country. He's the only person, from his village to come here. And I think it definitely stems from my parents. I mean, my parents had to have, their life was really good in India. So for them to come here with nothing, that encourages, I think, anyone who hears their story to be like, well, gosh, they can come here with nothing and build a life and build a legacy and build a future for their kids, which is me and my brother, right? My brother and I definitely benefited from their bold thinking and action. And if my dad had never, he had to apply, right, to come to school here. So, like, if he had never done that, the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, I remember though you did have a coach that became a friend, I believe Shamika.
Oh,
And
yes, of
she had some
course.
inspiration because it
She
was
did.
really about, because that's along the lines of what your mission is right now. So I'd love to hear that
Yeah.
story. And
Well,
then,
Shamika Tankerson, who is an amazing, amazing human, she also lives there in the LA area. She's a Black woman. And I started to get to know Shamika and found out that she is a coach and she had $1 million day. In one day, she sold $1 million worth of her coaching services. And for anybody to have $1 million day from that kind of industry, let alone be a woman, let alone be a Black woman, I was so inspired by that. And I think you want me to talk about my big vision, which I'm working on now, is my goal is to raise $1 billion with the B. And I want to raise this money because I am capable of raising money and I actually love to raise money. Raise this money to give it as grants to women entrepreneurs who are making big impact and big change in the world. And that's it. That's the vision, that's the mission, that's what I'm working towards. Because what started happening, and with this dream from Shamika, it was so awesome because I started challenging some of my friends, like, hey, let's see who can do this, like, $1 million day, and whoever gets there first takes the other one on a really awesome trip. And so that's kind of how the whole thing started. And then my friend, Julia, who I shared this vision with, she was like, okay, I'm in, let's do it. And then she said, but you know what? She's like, she works with a lot of women entrepreneurs. She's a branding expert. And she's like, these women are not getting funded. She's like, all of these men are getting funded. And as you might know, it is 98%, 99% of all funding goes towards men.
yeah.
And, the thing is, and I've started to sort of like dissect it a little bit. I think it's it's a couple of things. It's definitely, patriarchy, and it's definitely misogyny and all of that wrapped up, but it's also women aren't taught about money. They're not taught to raise money. They're not taught to ask for money. If they ask for money, they look desperate
And they don't feel that they deserve to have
and
this
they
money.
don't feel like they deserve the money. So I think women just don't also go get it. And so this is where this dream came from when Julia said to me, she's like, look, how can we take what we earn and give it to these women? And that's kind of that's where this entire vision came, between Shamika and talking to other friends who wanted to, challenge ourselves for this, and realizing that, oh my gosh, the reason women don't raise money a lot of times is because they don't know how to. But if I know how, then what if I raise the money and give it to them and then provide a supportive community? Because the other thing about women is we really learn in community. And having a supportive community of other women entrepreneurs that are trying to do impossible things is really, really important. And that is what we're building. We also want to build a community for the women to be able to rely on each other, because sometimes you can't talk to your friends and family, most times, and you certainly can't talk to your employees. And so, where do you go to share your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your foibles, your mess ups, your mistakes, your missteps? You have to find a supportive community of other entrepreneurs, I believe. And that's how I've able to grow my business, is like being in community with all these other women and realizing, just like the movie, oh my gosh, we all have the same issues. We all have the same problems. And to be able to celebrate, I think the really important part is celebrating each other. And I'm so excited for the women to get to know each other, because, you know, what works in one business might work in another business, might work in a different business. And so, how do we be able to cross ventilate great ideas amongst the women, to, watch all of the impact that they want to make grow? And I was talking to a man the other day, and he said something interesting to me. He was an investor, and he said, men create things and women create impact for people. And I will say this, Lisa, we don't need any more apps.
Mm-mm.
And that is exactly what the funding is going towards right now. It's always funding a different app. And I think we are apped out. And it is time to create impact, real impact for women, for real people. And when women are impact driven, they bring up their entire communities, which includes men and children and our elders. And the planet, obviously, the planet also is something that I think a lot of women really care deeply about. They see the effects of what's happening.
Yeah, and I'll have to tell you, it's not easy. You can get the money to be able to do your nonprofit or whatever mission you have to help, but then actually going about and doing it could be difficult. So the fact that you're building this community that of women that can lean on each other
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help each other is huge. I mean, they need help, which
Yeah.
leads me to the question that I always ask everybody and every guest is, who do you lean on, or what group do you lean on for support? Because a lot of women feel like it's hard for them to ask for help or
Oh,
ask for
yeah.
support.
And a lot
They
of
feel
women
like,
are alone,
yeah.
right? They're alone in their dreams and their visions. I mean, I'm very much, um, you know, very different from the rest of my family, who mostly have, regular day jobs. And so I think for me, that's such a great question. I lean on my other women entrepreneur friends because they get it, right? We get it. And I'm involved in a lot of different organizations, and involved in a lot of different programs, because I need that camaraderie and I need that accountability. I work with one of my coaches every week. And for me, sometimes it doesn't even matter who the coach is. What matters is that accountability that you have week after week.
Just that discussion, just sitting
Just
and
the
discussing.
discussion, just
Yeah.
the discussion, just the discussion. Yeah.
And community, it doesn't have to be 50, 60 people. It's
Mm-mm.
actually even better when you get with a community of women and break it down to 3 or 4 of you and really have some meaningful discussions about, okay, how can I support you? Can I ask you some questions? How can you support me? How can I support you? And just having that interaction and getting that feedback, oh, it's huge. I just
Yeah.
did that a couple days ago with some amazing women and asking them, okay, this is what I want to do. Does it sound right? What do you have to say about it? I have a whole page of notes. So it really is a great place to be able
And
to
the
have
feedback that you
that
get
feedback.
from others who have been through the trenches,
Mhm.
who have done the blood, sweat, and tears, and the freak out at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, it's so important. I remember, when I coach, I also do fundraising coaching for politicians. And one of the things I tell them the same thing is, find other people who are going through your experience. Because
Mhm.
when you're up at midnight stressing about something, so is this other political candidate. And if you have that person to talk to, that's how I got through my campaign, is I had 2 or 3 women that I knew I could call at midnight
Mm.
And we would just be there for each other because it's so hard to do something new and flex a different muscle.
Yeah.
And many times as an entrepreneur, you figured out one thing and now, oh my gosh, now you have to flex a different muscle. And then, oh, you have to flex it a different muscle. And for me, it's always been surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me has been the key to my success. I hire my weaknesses. Like I can't know everything. I can't know my thing and like raising money and also bookkeeping. Like those are two things I'm not a good bookkeeper, right? Like so I hire that and many other things. So it's like for me it's like finding women who believe in the mission and vision and getting support. And I think that's really the key to any woman entrepreneur or any in general. I think women need to do it in community.
Yeah, yeah. And we're gonna take over when all this breakdown and mess happens. We are going to be the ones that are going to pick up and
That's right.
create
That's
something
right.
new.
We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are it. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So I always ask for my guests to share their favorite
Yeah.
quote, mantra,
Uh-huh.
or positive affirmation with the audience. What would
Yeah.
you like to share?
I love this question. I have three mantras that I have lived by, that I go by, and that I always come back to. And the first one, we hit on it a little bit, is dream big. Like, what is that BHAG of yours? And further, say it out loud, say it to other people, because Americans, this is what I found in American culture. We are a helpful culture. So if you ask somebody for help, and when I'm teaching fundraising, I say there are 5 magic words. Can I count on you? And if you ask someone, can I count on you to help me realize this vision? People are like, yeah, I want to help, right? They want to be part of that. And then the second one is to believe in yourself.
Mm.
And this one is so hard for us because we always want that external validation from friends or family. But I can tell you from personal experience, when I decided to run for office, the people who I thought would be there for me disappeared. Poof. And strangers I'd never met before showed up to
Wow.
help. And it was such a great life lesson for me. You really have to believe in yourself and you have to have blinders on. You really, truly have to have blinders on. And you really have to just, the third piece is to keep going. You have to put one foot in front of the other and you have to keep going because there are going to be really hard days. And there are going to be days where you're questioning yourself, like, what the heck am I doing? Why did I even start this? And that's okay. You had a vision, it was divinely guided. And you had that BHAG and you started taking those steps. So don't stop. You have no idea how close you are. And don't stop. You just have to keep going.
I love all of those. And then they all lead up to exactly how you live your life and how I believe that everybody should. One of the things I do in my coaching is I clear the obstacles in their mind so that they
Mm.
can move forward. So if there's something that's keeping you stuck and you're not able to get and take that next step, that's what I do. So, lastly, how can people follow your adventures and get in touch with you? We didn't even talk about the fact that you're a digital nomad. So, I don't know if you want to talk about that really
Yeah,
quick
happy
because it's
to.
inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I travel so much I mean, I think I've been to 50 countries and about 46 states, I think, last count.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
have traveled a lot and I love to travel. And I used to travel all the time. And finally, as I was wrapping up my service in Washington State and really getting tired of the rain, I mean, I'd lived in Washington and Oregon in the Pacific Northwest for 26 years, and I was just really, really done with the rain. And I was talking to my bonus mom, my dad's wife, and I said, actually, it was her idea. She was like, Mona, why don't you just give up your place and like just travel? And I was like, what?
Is that a choice? I mean, can you
Are
do
you
that?
serious? Like, really? And I just started thinking about it. And then I started doing like little longer extended trips and I met others who are digital nomads. And I mean, I'm work for myself, so I can literally work from anywhere. And I have designed my life so that I travel. Sometimes I don't travel with a laptop ever. And most times I don't travel with an iPad. I really just travel with my phone because I have organized it in such a way that I only just need to be on the phone. I always tell people, like, if I'm on the computer, we are not using my talents to the best of their ability. And so for me, traveling full time just really meant letting go of that idea of home, but home is here. It's where I am.
Yeah.
And because I, as you know, make friends very quickly, I have friends around the world, so I don't actually usually pay for any places to stay. As you know, I found out you lived in Long Beach. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in Long Beach. Can I stay with you for a few days?" And that worked out so well, and it was so great to spend time with you and get to know you. And that's how I'm able to do it. That's my one tip is like, I wouldn't be able to travel the way I travel if I was paying for hotels. Because as we know, hotels are,
Oh,
three,
it's ridiculous.
two, three, $400 a night for not even just a basic room. Um, and so that's cost prohibitive for most. And so for me, I rely on my relationships that I've built and travel, around the world, and see friends, which is just so lovely and amazing. And it's one of my favorite things because when you stay with someone, you get to really know them. You get to be in their home, you get to spend time with them. It's kind of like a, pajama party, right? You stay up late talking, and it's just so lovely. Or wake up in the morning early and have coffee or whatever. It's just a really lovely way to get to know someone. So being a digital nomad is definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
But I love it. I thrive. For
I
sure.
love, and it just seems well suited for you with your
Yeah.
personality and
Yeah.
everything. It just works out perfectly.
Yeah.
So how can people follow you on your adventures and get in touch with you, and especially the link
Yeah.
for applications if you want to
Oh,
go
yes,
for the
yes. Thank
grant?
you. If you
Yeah.
want to apply for the grant, yes, we didn't go into that into depth, but my goal is to give out grant money for women entrepreneurs. And the link for the grant is monadas.org/grant. Or if you just go to the homepage, monadas.org really is your one-stop shop. And follow me on social media. I'm pretty easy to find. I don't hide on the internet. Most of my handles are monadas9 or something like that. So yeah.
And I'll put them all in the,
Oh, that would be great. Yeah,
in the
perfect.
notes and everything, and get
Awesome.
that from you. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking the
thank you so much
time to
for
talk
having
to
me. It
me.
was so wonderful to chat.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for people to hear this because I know that you'll really have an impact. And who knows, maybe even if one woman runs for office, even just in her city, her state, whatever,
That's
as a
right.
result of hearing this, and even maybe asks for a grant to be able to do it,
That's right. I love
that would
that.
be fabulous. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done our job.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Please like, subscribe, follow, and comment. And I want to keep doing this. So please, thank you for joining. Have a great day. Thanks so much for listening or watching. Please subscribe to the Ladies Who Leap podcast to be notified of new episodes. And I would love to hear from you. Let me know what works, what doesn't, and if you have a story to tell, please reach out. Come join the Leap community at the Ladies Who Leap Club Facebook group. Remember, leaping out of your comfort zone is where the growth happens.